Hey everyone, I'm Mike Black, and today I'm going to be answering a question I keep getting asked about, which is what agreements do I have with my contractors and how do I pay them? So in this video, I'm going to show you the 3 different types of agreements I have with contractors and how I pay them if they're overseas or if they're in the US. So there's 3 types of contracts. The first is hourly, the second is a retainer, and the third is a fixed contract. I almost always do the first 2, the hourly and the retainer, but what's important to note is that whatever contract that you're signing with your client, you also sign with your contractor. You want those 2 things to match. It's really important. Now, when I hire one of these contractors and we need to track time, I use a software called Hubstaff. That's how we track all of our time. And I put a link below this video to get a discount on the software. So once you sign an agreement with your contractor, how do you pay them? Now, the first thing to note is I pay everyone pretty much every 2 weeks. I do it on the 1st and the 15th of the month, but you can just do every 2 weeks if you'd like, and maybe do every Monday or every Friday. If I'm hiring someone to do a test, no matter where they are, I always use PayPal because it's really quick, it's really easy. I don't really care too much about like conversion rates and fees and all that stuff because it's usually not a very large amount. So when we do our tests before we hire someone, I always use PayPal. Now, I use different tools to pay people based off where they're located, based if they're overseas or if they're in the US. The first is I either use a software called Transferwise or Western Union. Some countries, Western Union's better, some countries, Transferwise is better, but I've found Western Union to be super buggy, and I've actually had issues logging in sometimes and being able to send money, so I just said, you know what, we're gonna stick with Transferwise. But what I care most about, what you need to pay attention to, is the fees involved with the platform, and then also the exchange rate. So what the exchange rate is when I send someone $1 overseas, they might get 90 cents because whatever the service is that's doing it, like Transferwise, they have to turn that US dollars into, say, Colombian pesos. Now, different platforms charge different rates, but I would look at those exchange rates because if I send $1, I want them to get as close to a US dollar as possible. So when you're paying them, make sure you pay attention to what those exchange rates are. Now, there's certain things I love about Transferwise is I can just upload a CSV with everyone's payment. And if you're paying a lot of people, it makes it really easy to just upload that CSV every 2 weeks with how much you owe everyone, and it'll automatically send it to all of your contractors. Now, the second thing I'll do is there's some countries that are really hard to pay people. One of them is Ukraine. The way the government works, they're really against entrepreneurship. One of the only ways you can go about doing this is using a wire transfer or using a software called Payoneer. Now, personally, I found Payoneer to be really hard to work with. They do charge pretty hefty fees compared to other platforms, but you have to balance out, like, is it more expensive or less expensive than a wire transfer? Now, to go a little bit more in depth with wire transfers, different banks charge different fees for wire transfers. It's cheaper to do a domestic wire transfer than it is to do an international wire transfer. If you're gonna be paying a lot of people overseas, you might wanna look at what those wire transfer fees are with your bank if you're gonna be paying people in, say, Ukraine or Colombia. I have an office in Medellin, Colombia, and I pay with wire transfer because that's another country where it's a little bit difficult to send money to. So wire is the easiest way, and I pay $45 for every wire transfer that I send with Capital One. I've heard that Bank of America has good fees for wire transfers, but I haven't gotten to look into that. So again, look into the fees that those banks charge to send those wire transfers. So that's how I pay people overseas. Now, when it comes to paying people in the US, it's a lot easier. I use a software that I really love called Gigwage. Gigwage is an ACH software. The fee is only $1 for every single ACH you send. Now, an ACH is sending from one bank account to another bank account. It's a little bit different than a wire transfer. I don't know the exact technical details, but a wire transfer is almost instant, where an ACH with Gigwage takes only 2 days. So Gigwage is really fast. Now, there are some minor issues with Gigwage. The first is when you first start with Gigwage, you have a low limit, and all you have to do is message them and request for them to increase their limit, and they will. So Gigwage is also great because I take all of our US contractors' information, what I owe them for that month, I upload it into a CSV right into Gigwage, and it pays everyone in batch payments. I can't say enough good things about Gigwage. There's a lot of other competitors on the market that charge so much more. They'll charge monthly fees and all these other fees. And for what we do, do. It works super well. It's very affordable. Again, just $1 per ACH transfer. Now, the very last thing I'll mention really quickly is we also use Gusto to pay our US employees. So an employee is a little bit different than a contractor. We found their software has been really great to work with. They also allow you to pay contractors, but the fees are a little bit higher. So we've just been sticking with Gigwage to pay all of our contractors. I hope this video was helpful. I put all the tools mentioned below this video, so if you want to use any of the same tools, feel free to check out the description below. If you enjoyed this week's video, make sure to hit the like button. It really helps us out. Hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell to get notified every time we release a new video. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in next week's video.